What do you mean he's not welcome here? He holds an American passport and he's not been convicted of a crime. The correct position of strength to have on that would have been, I hate everything about this Andrew Tate character. I hate what he represents. I hate the culture that he's bringing, but he's an American citizen and he's going to be treated as such.
Candace Owens was a guest on Piers Morgan's show, Piers Morgan Uncensored. And in this segment of the interview that Piers Morgan did with Candace Owens, she defends Andrew Tate. So we're going to take a look at these clips from Piers Morgan's show. I have my thoughts on this too. Let's check it out together.
I mean, that dovetails neatly with Andrew Tate, who was on your show after he left Romania recently. Again, I've interviewed him a number of times. The Tates, a lot of people think here, let's play the clip from Andrew on your show first, and I'll ask you a question about it.
Let's pretend this is about law and order, and they're truly concerned for the citizens of Florida. Then follow me around with secret police and investigate me in quiet. And if you find something, arrest me. Why the song? Why the dance? Why the press? Why the public? Why are you doing all of this if you're not trying to divert people away from the important things? The important things like all the actual crime and corruption that's happening.
But do you feel they are also, him and his brother, unfairly targeted by, if you like, the all-embracing Me Too movement?
Yeah, so I can tell you, I objectively took a look at their Romanian case and their Romanian case only. And years before everybody else, years before it got sent back down, I said that there's nothing in this case. Like, I mean, this case is just not going to pass. And it seems to me to be like over judicial. And I was proven correct on that. And people were angry at me because they said, well, look at these videos they made 10 years ago. Do you agree? No, I obviously don't agree with that. But again, you can't convict somebody on character. We have to actually take a look at the cases that are before them. And I have 3 sons now, or I'm soon to have my 3rd son in a couple of weeks. And it's just not something that I can get behind. If we're going to put men in prison, it has to be on the basis of the allegations that are against them. In Romania, I knew that case would fall apart. Extremely disappointed in what Ron DeSantis did. Because what Ron DeSantis did is exactly what the left did when the AG, Attorney General Letitia James, said, I don't like Trump and I will therefore find a crime, right? I think what happened that day, and this has been a remarkable level of cowardice that DeSantis has displayed over and over again, is that he listens to his donors. It's why I never supported him. I never supported him over Trump for this very reason. My suspicion is he got word very late in the day that Andrew Tate was landing. A bunch of neocons texted him. A lot of them live in Florida and said, this can't happen. This can't happen. And he bristled. And you see that in the first press conference. You know, he's not welcome here. What does that mean? He's not been convicted of a crime. What do you mean he's not welcome here? He holds an American passport and he's not been convicted of a crime. The correct position of strength to have on that would have been, I hate everything about this Andrew Tate character. I hate what he represents. I hate the culture that he's bringing, but he's an American citizen and he's going to be treated as such. Instead, they said, we'll find something. And then they began the fishing expedition, which I just stand against, whether it's Trump, whether it's Tate, whether it was you, Piers Morgan. If it was you, Piers Morgan, my platform would be used to say this is wrong. This is not the way. We shouldn't be running America like a Soviet regime. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. He should do something. And then we should look at the evidence, as Pam Bondi said in her hearing for confirmation. That's the way the judicial system is supposed to run. We are aware of a crime and we are investigating that crime, and that crime has led us to this person.
You've got 3 sons. I've got 3 sons. You know, when I interview Tate and see other interviews with him, you know, there's a lot I would agree with about how young men, this is why they gravitate to him, right? About taking care of yourself, working out, you know, clean living, all that kind of stuff. That's all fine. And the sort of empowering language he uses, that's all fine. The big problem I have with him, putting aside all the allegations, which I just don't know the truth of them. Honestly, I just don't know. But putting all that aside, the sort of brazen misogyny that he comes out with, I don't like that aspect at all. As a mum of 3 sons who has, you know, strong personal principles, what do you feel about that side of it? If they started when they're older watching Andrew Tate and he's saying women should stay at home and they should do this and do that, how do you feel about that?
Before Candace Owens gets into her part, I'd like to say this is a rare instance where I agree with Piers Morgan. And what I don't understand with a figure like Andrew Tate, whether the guy is ever convicted of anything, the guy's a creep. He's a scumbag. He has, you know, Piers Morgan just barely kind of scratched the surface by talking about the misogyny. He has said absolutely horrible things about women. Now, in the United States, we have freedom of speech. People can say whatever they want. However, that does not mean that these people should be propped up and have a platform and all of this. Candace Owens, I don't see why she and these other right-wing figures could not have someone who has the good aspects of Andrew Tate that Piers Morgan is mentioning here, as far as the working out and eating right and all of that kind of stuff, who is also a decent person. There are all kinds of men out there who are into fitness and eating right, and they're masculine. You know, the right-wingers always talk about, you know, we don't have masculinity anymore. There are masculine men who work out, eat right, and are actually decent human beings. Why not have one of them on your show, Candace Owens, instead of a scumbag like Andrew Tate? I just don't understand it.
Well, I'm not offended by the idea that women should stay home. I think that's great. My grandmother stayed home, and I told you I'm not a modern feminist, so that doesn't offend me. But to your other points, I know what you're referring to, and what I've always maintained is that Andrew Tate and his brother were actually a response to a misandrist culture, women that hated men. Before Andrew Tate, there was Lena Dunham. There was Lena Dunham saying terrible things about the patriarchy, about men ain't this. There were Beyonce albums, there were Taylor Swift albums, and people want to pretend that that's not relevant. Men were getting beat over the head over and over again for just being men, being told your tail needs to be between your legs at all times. There's just something wrong with masculinity. There were all of these fruity terms, toxic masculinity. And finally, you get some guys that stand up and they say, you know what? No, the girls suck. The girls are actually this. The women are not anything. And suddenly the culture goes, I don't know where this is coming from. Well, it came from toxic femininity, actually, is what bred this. And that's exactly actually one of the things that I'm bringing up in my book, which is publishing in a couple of months. Make them a sandwich. It gets into the history of exactly what we're speaking about. How did we arrive at this culture? Women produced it. So you can thank Lena Dunham's. If there's something that you don't like about what Andrew Tate says and why young men are following him, we've got to go backwards and take a look at the women who brought forth this modern feminist movement, which was really just about hating men.
I actually agree with you. I think you make a very good point there. I do think it was toxic femininity that led to the fight back. And it's tricky with the Tates because I do think some of the stuff they do strays into toxic masculinity by that definition. And it's just the misogyny stuff. If they cut that out, a lot of what they say about how young men should conduct themselves, I'm fine with. So no problem with it. It's just when they get into the treating women like doormats and stuff, I don't like it. Anyway, let's move on to...
And even if what Candace Owens were saying here is true about, or was true, about the toxic femininity, I think what she's saying is mostly nonsense here. But let's say it's all true. And Andrew Tate is a reaction to that. That he still doesn't need to be platformed. Candace Owens and these others, again, why can they not have someone decent on their show? And the Trump administration, if it's true that they were involved in getting him released from Romania to come to the United States, why? Why bend over backwards for this creep? And in terms of freedom of speech, right-wingers seem to think that freedom of speech means that everyone has to listen to what you say, which is not true. People, again, can say whatever they want. Somebody can go out on the street corner and say, you know, I hate puppies or whatever. You know, you have the right to say that, but that doesn't mean that people have to agree with you. And if someone says, I don't want to listen to you say I hate puppies or I disagree about puppies, and I don't think you should go on a podcast to talk about how much you hate puppies, or I'm not going to listen to that podcast if you go on there, that doesn't mean that their freedom of speech has been denied. Like I say, right-wingers seem to think that freedom of speech means that they all should have a platform, all these right-wing commentators and debaters and whatever you want to call them, and that they all must be listened to or their freedom of speech is denied. It's just insane to me. But what do you think about this? Why these right-wingers are defending Andrew Tate? I just don't understand it, other than to just be to own the libs. This seems to be what they live for, is just owning the libs. But I do not understand why they would prop up such a horrible person like Andrew Tate. Piers Morgan here was half right, but I don't think he's right about the so-called toxic femininity. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Make sure to give me a like and subscribe. This is Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.